Hey, what's going on, everybody? Manny here once again. Welcome to DFS Zone, man. I got a brand new video for you, ladies and gentlemen. But before I get started, like always, I appreciate you guys drop a like. And if you're new to the channel, first time here, never ever seen any of my NBA lineup advice videos, the only thing you need to do to get the content on a regular basis is to become a subscriber to the channel. So make sure you subscribe down below. Make sure you put on your post notifications, that bell icon. Make sure you turn that on so this way you don't miss out on any of my lineup advice videos. With that being said, today is Monday, January the 14th, 2019, and we have a 6-game slate in the association. And we're going to get right to it, man, right at the top. I always try to give you guys, if I am on anybody as far as a top stud today, I would let you know if I am interested in anybody there. And as you can see at the top, we got Harden and Anthony Davis. They're the top dogs tonight. I do believe that I will have exposure to both guys. My only concern more so with James Harden, I won't use him as a core today because he did play last night. He's on the front end of a back-to-back, and he played massive minutes last night. He put up a massive game. He's been really been terrific for his team. But at the same time, he's been, his body has got to be tired. I mean, last night, a lot of shots. He missed a lot of shots from three. I think he only hit 1 3 last night out of 14 or 15 or 16 shots. So, again, Harden is definitely in play in my quarter GPPs. I would recommend, hey, if you could squeeze him in there, I think you can if you do a bunch of multiple lineups on a GPP, quarter GPPs especially, which I always tell you guys I always recommend on Fanduel to do, is make a few lineups, throw in a Harden. You can even double do a tag team with both guys, do Harden and Anthony Davis. But out of the two today, I definitely like Anthony Davis a whole lot more. It's just simply, obviously, he's cheaper too. He's got the tremendous upside to put 70, 80, or 90 as well in his matchup. He's in a favorable matchup, and at the same time, he is also cheaper, and he has had a day or two of rest at least, so that's the major difference. So Anthony Davis is in play for me. He is my top guy. And matter of fact, because I am going to speak about the top guy, I might as well just go over him right now. But we all know what he brings to the table. He's averaging almost 29 points a game, 13 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 62.5 fantasy points per game at 12-7. You need pretty much 63 fantasy point totals, which he is very much capable of doing. On DK, he's only 11-6, so you need 50. You need about 56, 57 fantasy points there to meet value. That's very nice price tag and very much doable, as you can see here. One thing that it's for certain, let's go over to the cruncher and go over to power forward, Anthony Davis. And the bottom line is, if you look through all this here, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, he has had 14 straight games at 48 fantasy points or better, and he has 80-point upside, as we already spoke. He has also had 4 out of his last 5 games. He has put at least 30 points on the board or better from the floor, and he has had 5 straight games with at least a double-double. I mean, 5 straight games. I mean, literally, you can see it here on the rebounds and, of course, in the scoring. So he has been just truly dynamite for his team. Not a whole lot we can say about it. His minutes are there. He's going to get 30 to 35 minutes or better. His usage rate is at 30% or better pretty much on average. There are some days where they're higher, 34 here, 35. But nonetheless, he's going to take massive shots. His shots are at 20 to 21 shots per game. He could hit a few threes here and there, but we don't want Anthony Davis for the 3-point shot. We want him for this. He gets to the foul line, and he gets at least 10 foul shots per game on average, as you can see here over the last 7 or 8 games. And he's going to bring you tons of rebounds, and he can give you some assists, and he brings to the table the defense. He's going to get blocks. He's been averaging at least 1 block or more every game pretty much for the last 15 straight games or so. And as you can see, he can definitely give you double digits also in steals. So he brings a lot of things to the table. He's going up against the Clips, and first things first, he played the Clips already. He's put up 62 and 70 thus far this year in 2 games. Has played them 2 times this year, man, and he is averaging 28 points per game from the floor against these guys and 63 fantasy points. So I definitely do like him here, and he's going up. The Clippers are 29th in defending power forwards, and they've been allowing 31.4 fantasy points per game. They've been giving up slightly a little bit over 1 fantasy point per minute to opposing power forwards and centers, of course, as well, because he plays sometimes the center spot, which I believe he'll do that today. And during the course of the last 5 games, that's what they've given up to the opposition. They did give up just recently 69 fantasy points to Blake Griffin, 27 to Marvin Williams, 29 to Mr. Gordon, and 35 to TJ Warren, playing out of the 4 spot for Phoenix. So, yeah, Anthony Davis is definitely somebody in play. I'm going to pencil him in right now. Obviously, because we have Anthony Davis at that high price tag, we're going to definitely find some value. There is some value here today. Kyle Anderson being out. Kyrie Irving, just prior to me starting the video, we know he is out for today, so that obviously opens up the doors to Terry Rozier, to Marcus Smart, to Jaylen Brown, as well as Al Horford. So that Boston lineup is going to get a bump in usage and shots. All right. Other than Anthony Davis, if you stay in the power forward spot, the only other guys that I really do like, I do like LaMarcus Aldridge here against Charlotte. He is at home, 8,600. You need 43. DK's 8,200. You need about 41 to me value there. He's playing more than enough minutes. His usage rate is at 26-27%. He's taking about 15-16 shots a game, and he is shooting very well at home, 52% field goal percentage, averaging 22 points per game and 40 fantasy points per game. So, and I like him against Charlotte here. Charlotte is right now, Charlotte is 16th in defending centers. And they, because LaMarcus plays the center spot pretty much for the San Antonio Spurs, and they're giving up 32.3 fantasy points per game and 1.29, nearly 1.3 fantasy points per minute to opposing centers. So if LaMarcus Aldridge is in the 5 spot, and which you'll see sometime there, sometimes they use Portal to start. I think Portal will probably start. He'll probably play the 4. I still like his chances there as well. Aldridge is definitely someone I'll consider. Anybody else here? Marvin Bagley is definitely someone to consider as well. He's at 5,700 here on Fanduel. You need about 27 on DK. He's 4,800. He's averaging 24 fantasy points per game. And the bottom line is with him here, they're going up against a team, Portland, that is dead last against power forwards. That's the one thing also. They've given up 25.3 fantasy points per game in the last 5 games. They just recently gave up 30 to marketing. I do like Bagley here. He is coming back from injury slowly but surely. He's getting the minutes. He's played 2 straight games. Other than Bagley, if you wanted to come down and be even cheaper, I do like Marcus Morris, obviously with the Kyrie Irving situation being out. Marcus Morris in the front court with Al Horford, kind of like those guys. He's 5,100. This guy is pretty good for 25 easily. He's in the 5,100. You only need 25. And so he is definitely someone that's capable of getting you 35 or better in a given day. You got JaMychal Green here, has been playing solid last 2 games straight, 32 fantasy points or better in his last 2 straight games. He's going up against Houston. They're 8th in defending power forwards and allowing 33.2 fantasy points per game. So Mr. Green is someone to consider. And I also do like Mr. Ed Davis for Brooklyn in his game against Boston. He's only 4,700. You need pretty much 23 to meet value. And Boston is 24th in defending power forwards, allowing nearly 23 fantasy points per game. And he is good. He's a good 1 fantasy point per minute player. So he's definitely someone you can consider in this matchup as well. All right, now let's go right to the top. After I gave you my stud plays and all that, let's go over to point guard. So at point guard, like I said, at the top, you got Kimba, you got Damian Lillard. I do plan to have some exposure to De'Aaron Fox because he's my boy, and for one, he's at home, and he's going to be in a pace-up game. He's going to go up against Dame Lillard, and he's going to want to ball out against Damon. So interesting game. Damian Lillard would not be a bad play either because Fox, obviously is more offense-oriented. He's not a great defender. But the pace-up game in Sacramento, I definitely love Fox a little bit more. He's $800 cheaper, so why not? So, but I would not be at all opposed to any of you guys being interested in Lillard. I think he's fine. As we see here, game-time decision on Kyrie Irving, I already told you prior to me doing the video, he is out. So we know for a fact the key guy here to go for is obviously Terry Rozier. So you go right to the Boston. And let's pencil in Terry Rozier because one thing's for sure, with this news, obviously we all know already as DFS players, some of these guys are going to be highly chalked. So he's going to be probably a highly owned player today in a 6-game slate, considering it's not a massive 9-10 game slate. He'll probably be more highly owned today. But again, there's nothing wrong with having 1 or 2 players that are in the higher end as far as ownership is concerned in a given slate. The objective here is to be able to find out 1 or 2 players that, the rest of the players are not actually on. So Terry Rozier is in play, man. And Terry Rozier, we're not basing him and putting him here due to the fact that he's been fantastic. We know he's capable of putting points up on the board. He's a good offensive player, actually pretty good, decent defender as well. The only problem is that because you got Kyrie Irving, you're not going to get a ton of minutes. But when Kyrie is out, this guy's always stepped in and done fantastic for the Celtics. So Terry Rozier at 3,900, you only need 19 or 20. With him getting a bump in usage and minutes today, he's going to definitely play 30, maybe 35 minutes. Him as well as Brown and as well as Smart with maybe even Al Horford. I think all those guys, for me, in my opinion, are all in play today. It just opens up the door. When you have Kyrie Irving off the floor, now you got to find that usage, and those shots that he normally takes, it's got to be given to other players. So that's going to be spread a little bit among Terry Rozier as well as Smart, as well as Jaylen Brown, and even Morris and Al Horford and Tatum, the whole crew. Okay, so Rozier's in play simply because of that. So we know that bump in minutes and usage is going to come into play here. So Terry Rozier is in play at 3,900, and he's only 3,700 on DK. So you got to lock him in there, guys. Other than those guys, like I said, I do like Fox. Alfred Payton definitely is appealing to me in this game against the Clippers, 6,200. He is someone that you could definitely consider. You need 31 to meet value. He's 5,900 on DK, and going up against the Clippers, they're 22nd in defending point guards, and they've been allowing 32.3 fantasy points per game and a little over 1 fantasy point per minute to opposing point guards as of the last 5 games. And Alfred Payton is one of those guys that he's pretty good. He can get you 30 to 35. He has 40-point upside, so I definitely like him. I would like his minutes to go up. He's only been averaging 26 to 28 minutes since coming back, so maybe today will be the day that he'll get a little over 30 minutes. But Alfred Payton is definitely in play for me. I will have some exposure to him at maybe 20% in my some of my lineups. Derek White is definitely someone you could always consider. 5,900 here on Fanduel. You need 29. On DK is 5,400. So he's someone you can consider as well. You're going up against Charlotte. They're 19th in defending point guards, and they've been allowing 33.3 fantasy points per game to opposing point guards. And that would also include in this game, if you're not on White, then definitely pay down to his teammate Patty Mills, who gets at least 18 to 20 minutes on average, and he's a good 1 fantasy point per minute player. And on top of that, he has the potential and the upside to get you 30 or better in that same time frame. So he is definitely someone to consider as that drop spot play here at 3,700. Obviously, the key play here of the day is going to be Rozier. All right, so let's go over the shooting guard. At shooting guard today, obviously we got the top James Harden. Like I said, I will have a little exposure to Harden, but James Harden, after that long, massive game last night, poor shooting night, as far as from 3, it's going to be tough for him to come back and really do the same performance again, especially against a team like Memphis is pretty good defensively. So I'm going to come down. Donovan Mitchell's been red hot. You got to stick with Donovan Mitchell. He's at home. He's been playing at home. He's been playing the point with all the injuries to the point guard position. He's been moved to the point. It comes to tell you he plays well as the point guard with the ball in his hands all the time. Why not just let this guy play the point guard position, right? Just like James Harden would. You say, why you need Chris Paul if James Harden's doing so well? But obviously everybody needs a key player. Ricky Rubio is a pretty decent player. He has experience. So Donovan Mitchell, but Donovan Mitchell's been really great over the time that he has not had to deal with having Ricky Rubio on the team. 8,800. You need pretty much 44 for him to meet value. He is 8,900 on DK. No, on DK he's actually 9,200. So I wouldn't probably play him on DK, but if you guys want to, I think he is still a fine play on DraftKings if you wanted to. I mean, the minutes are there, 32 to 37 minutes as of late. What I've been impressed with is he's been at 33 plus points from the floor in the 3-game stretch here. And at the same time, he's been averaging 49 plus in fantasy points in 4 out of his last 5 games. I mean, it's enough said. 3 straight games at 33 and 49 plus in 3. Versus that, you come over here and we'll take a look at him a little bit further. Now remember, he's playing the point, but he's under the shooting guard bracket on FanDuel as well as on Fantasy Cruncher. So just keep that in mind that he is playing against Detroit, so he's going to probably face Reggie Jackson, and Reggie Jackson's not a great defender, so keep that in mind as well. If you want to pick on anybody in Detroit, you got to pick on the point guard spot. But look at the numbers, really nice. Minutes are there, usage to 32% or better. Look at the shots over the last 5 games, 21 or better in 5 straight games. He's taking massive threes as well. Getting to the foul line, he's a good free throw shooter, and you know the deal. He fills up the stat sheet, he can get rebounds, gets assists, and that goes hand in hand better for him playing the point. As you can see, 4 of 7, 4 and 9, 6 and 6 over the 3 games. and he's getting some blocks, and he is capable of getting some steals. He's a pretty decent defender. So Donovan Mitchell in play for me for sure today in this matchup against Detroit. Detroit 10th in defending shooting guards, and they've been allowing 28.7 fantasy points per game to opposing shooting guards. They did give up 34 to the point guards. I've been using the point guards stats, considering Donovan's playing the point. 34 to Ball and 31 to De'Aaron Fox over the last two of those guys over the last 5 games. So if you're not on Donovan Mitchell, who do you go to? You got D'Angelo Russell here, a little up and down, price tag a little high for his. I'm not too high on him. I do like Buddy Hield, but at the same time, he's going up against Portland, and C.J. McCollum is the pretty good defender, and then McCollum is going to defend Buddy, and Buddy is he's a better defender, obviously, than Fox, so I'm a little concerned with that matchup. Jeremy Lamb is a tough matchup for almost anybody. I think you got to pay down and go to Marcus Smart or Jaylen Brown here. As far as considering the value that you're getting there now with the opening up of the absence of Kyrie Irving. So those two guys you definitely got to consider, Mr. Brown or Mr. Smart. Mr. Smart has had the better last 2 games against Brooklyn. In the last 2 games, he's put up a 31 and a 29 spot. So so keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. And then Mr. Brown, the last time he faced the Brooklyn Nets, only played 24 minutes, only had 12 fantasy points. But we know that he has probably more upside as far as offensively than Mr. Smart, even though Mr. Smart is a better defender. So, take your pick there. Jaylen Brown is only 4,000. You only need 20. So it's very much doable for him. And Mr. Marcus Smart is 4,700. You need about 23 to meet value. I think that's the best way to go. You could go Garrett Temple here. Remember, Kyle Anderson is out. So Garrett Temple plays shooting guard as well as Justin Holiday for Memphis. Those 2 guys could possibly be plays here. Let me see where it's Garrett Temple is 3,600. He's at like bare minimum. And Justin Holiday the same, 3,500, man. You cannot go wrong. Any one of those 2. I would probably go Justin Holiday because they brought him over to Memphis to be a part of this program. So I could see him possibly. If we get news that Justin Holiday is starting, I would think that he's definitely someone you can get in there and at that bare minimum price tag of 3,500. Then you'll have yourself Terry Rozier and Justin Holiday, and this opens up the doors for you to pay up for another stud there. So keep those guys in mind. I think those are the better plays today there. We go over to small forward. And at small forward, not a whole lot to choose from here today. Gallinari going up against Marichek. I would take Marichek any day. He's coming back from an injury, slowly but surely getting the minutes. I would still take a stab at him. So I am in favor of Marichek. You could go Ingles easily. He is at home, and he definitely shoots better at home. So Joe Ingles or Marichek, take your choice. I really prefer it because of the upside. Marichek is capable of getting you 40, even 45 plus. So he would be someone that I would consider. We go over to him here. 6,100 you need for him. You need pretty much 30. And at DK, he's 5,700. You need about 27. He is averaging 32 fantasy points per game. And as you can see, only 21 and 26 gradually. Hopefully, he'll get to 29, 30 minutes today. And we know that he's capable. As you can see, he is like a 1 fantasy point per minute guy. And if he gets hot from the perimeter and from 3, he could be very, very dangerous. At home, away this year, 44% field goal percentage, 33% from 3. He's averaging 17 points per game from the floor and 35 fantasy point totals, which is above his average. Last time against the Clippers, he got this year. He played the Clippers. Let's take a look. I think he did earlier in the year. And last time he played the Clippers early in the year, he did put 34 against them. And last year in the last game against them, he put up 52 and 31. So he's been averaging 30, almost 40 fantasy points against these guys or better. So I definitely like the whole idea. I'm not going to go too much on his usage. We know when he was playing, his usage rate was about 21, 22%, and he was averaging about 29, 30 minutes. So we know that slowly but surely he'll get to that 30-minute mark. It could possibly be today. Going up against the Clippers, 29th in defending small forwards, allowing 32.3 fantasy points per game and nearly 1 fantasy point per minute there at 0.95 when I did my calculations. They have given up recently 33 to Mr. Bullock, 30 to Mr. Craig of the Denver Nuggets, and they gave up Mikal Bridges. They gave up 27. So I don't see no reason why Marichek would not be able to at least get 30 to 35 or better in this matchup. So I like Mr. Marichek there. If you're not on Marichek and you don't want to pay 6,100, there are 1 or 2 other guys that I do like. Remember Kyle Anderson's situation obviously opens the doors for Holiday, like I said already, and Mr. Temple. You come down a little lower here. I'm not on Hayward or Batum, but Royce O'Neal at 4,900, obviously with all the injuries, he's been playing at the shooting guard spot, not in the small forward spot. So you got to look at him as a shooting guard in this aspect. 4,900 for him. He is definitely in play. I mean, he's 4,900. You pretty much need 24 to meet value. And he's going up against Detroit. They're sixth in defending small forwards, allowing 24.8 fantasy points per game. But this guy's played 2 games in the starting spot, and I think he's put up 30 fantasy points or better in both. Yeah, 30 and 36 and 36 to 39 minutes. He's playing really, really well. So he is someone to consider here as well for that price tag. I mean, that's not a bad play at all. As a matter of fact, I forgot to punch in Mr. Marichik here so you guys can see it on the screen. So I got 2 Pelicans in there. Other than Mr. O'Neal, like I said, Holiday is in play for me, and Gordon. I do always like a little bit of Evan Turner. He's capable of it. Damari Carroll could be someone to consider in this Boston game. The only problem is that he's starting to get minutes up again after he was up to about 29 minutes. He missed the game because of a soreness or injury or something like that, and now he's back again, and they slowly but surely putting the minutes back on again. So hopefully they'll bump him up to 29, 30 minutes today, but I don't know. So other than that, you always could consider Mr. Bertans. He's been playing. And even Mr. Moore here, Etuan Moore for the Pelicans here, not someone you could, he gets a lot of minutes. He's played 30-somewhat minutes in his last game, didn't put up big numbers, but he's capable of getting you 30 to 35 at that price tag. He could be someone to consider as well. All right, let's go to power forward. And at we already gave you the power forwards. Let's go right to center, all right? I forgot that I gave you guys the power forwards. At shooting guard, it was Donovan Mitchell. I forgot to pencil him in. Sorry, folks. I'm trying to be quick, so this way the videos are a little quicker and we get right to the point. At center today, at the top, man, we just found out Clint Capella's not playing today. So that opens up the doors a little bit as well there. Something to consider, man. I mean, it could be one of those nights where Harden is kind of potty. I wouldn't even be surprised they cut his minutes down a little bit today. But Clint Capella out. Could be, an opportunity there to grab Mr. Gasol if you want. I do like Nurkic here versus Sacramento. He's been pretty steady, but you got to come down and you got to take advantage of the Brooklyn situation with Al Horford and no Kyrie Irving. Like I said before, I like Al Horford here as well. So Al Horford for me is in play at 6,700. If we put him in 6,700, man, you got 11, almost 12 points a game from him, 6 rebounds, almost 4 assists, 30 fantasy points. 6,700, you need 33. And on DK, he is 6,200. You need only 31. And again, it's just so much. This is more about taking advantage of the situation. We know Brooklyn is not a good defending team against centers. And as you can see, he's been pretty steady, 32 or better. He has had 32 or better in 4 out of his last 6 games, if you look at this real closely in his game log. And that's pretty darn good. We go over to the cruncher, and we'll take a look at him a little further. Al Horford. And as you can see, there goes the green. And the beauty is the minutes, 24 to about 26 minutes, pretty much per game. And shots are not going to get a ton. He's more about 9 to 10 shots a game. He's a pretty decent free throw shooter when he gets some, if he gets on the line, but he's not getting there that often. As you can see, he is a rebounder. He can get you some assists, and he's able to defend a little bit. Got 4 steals and a block in the last game, but he's capable of getting you steals and capable of getting you blocks. He's pretty good at not getting into foul trouble. He has those moments. Again, it's taking advantage of the situation that Brooklyn is pretty weak up front and that he's going to get a bump. He's going to definitely get a few more minutes today. He's going to get a couple more opportunities to score and get some more assists and maybe even hit some threes. So I do like him here. His home and away splits have been pretty good as well. He is not at all bad on the road. 46% field goal percentage, 36% from 3, 11.5 points per game, and 28 fantasy points per game. He did play against Brooklyn already one time this year. He put up a 35 spot, and in that game he had 12 points, 35 fantasy points, shot 85% from the floor, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, had 1 block and 1 steal, as you can see that all here. So very, very fine game by Al Horford the last time out against the Brooklyn Nets. Now, the Nets, as you can see, 30th in defending centers. They have been allowing 34.3 fantasy points per game to opposing centers and 1.22 fantasy points per minute. And that is right in the wheelhouse for Mr. Al Horford, who's usually pretty good at over 1 fantasy point per minute. So definitely like him there. They recently gave up 27 to Dedmon, and they gave 35, of course, to yours truly, Mr. Horford, 3 games ago, and 36 to Marc Gasol on a poor shooting night. during the course of those 5 games. If you wanted to pay down and go any cheaper, okay, if you wanted to go cheaper here, then you will have to go all the way down, and the only one that I would recommend is Bismack Biyombo. At 4,200, you only need 21 from him. He's going up against San Antonio. They are 5th in defending centers, though. They have given up 30.2 fantasy points per game to opposing centers over the course of the last 5 games. So you could consider them. He's probably going to see Portal, or he's going to see Mr. LaMarcus Aldridge. But we'll pencil in there Mr. Horford. And that's where I'm at. Those are the 5 guys I'm looking at. But again, I mentioned a number of other players. Definitely keep up on the injury news. There is definitely some value now open up for Houston with no Clint Capella. So you can go there as well if you wanted to. I think there, obviously, Nene is going to get some minutes. But I probably would not be too high on anybody there. There, the usage will obviously go up to Tucker, maybe Gerald Green, as well as Mr. House, and so on and so forth, and of course Mr. Harden. But that's where I'm at, ladies and gentlemen. Plain and simple. Again, you can always comment down below in the video. You can ask questions. You know the deal, man. That's pretty much where I'm at, man. I wish you guys a lot of luck. And I'll be back again tomorrow with another video, man, like always. All right.